can feel free to move a little bit, wiggle or stretch in any way that you need to, so that you can settle in a little bit to some stillness eventually. Emma and I were talking ahead of class about how spring seems to have turned the corner in New England, and that sense of promise. I like that word that you used, Emma. The sense of promise. Things are bursting. And that's really what I was feeling and thinking about when I was considering what to focus on this class this week. And that is, we take the winter and we have that time for introspection, and it gives us the opportunity to awaken awareness. And the next step then is to prune and to turn over the soil and to remove the things that would hinder our own personal growth. And that sometimes is a gracious, easy process, and sometimes it takes a little dedication to keep showing up. So one of my favorite examples of that is our self-talk. Sometimes our self-talk, we have kind of a habitual groove, which in yoga we call a samskara. We have these ways of settling in, ways of looking at things, ways of talking to ourselves that maybe have served us at some point, but perhaps you've decided it's time to change things up a little bit. And so the next part of that is to commit to continuing to show up for yourself, to continue to, I call it, yank out the weeds. So if your self-talk hasn't been entirely positive, reprogramming, pulling that out and smoothing the grooves of the old samskaras and setting up new ones that support you better. And so today, as we settle into quiet, I'll invite you to just consider this question. What is it you want to feed? What is it you want to foster growth in? Have you realized that there are changes you need to make? Old habits or patterns that no longer suit you? Can you commit to showing up again and then again and again for yourself? Part of that commitment is dealing with the underlying issues that led you to a reflexive behavior. Maybe exploring why you felt resentment about something that caused you to respond in anger. Or is there fear behind an emotion that continually arises for you? Sitting with that, acknowledging it fully, noticing what impact that's had on your life, and then imagining a new possibility. What would it look like if you flipped the script? What joys, new joys might be possible for you if you believed differently about something? Breathing into that for a moment. And I'll invite you to just take a slightly longer exhalation in this beginning opening breath work. So we commit to a centering breath here to start our practice, because it's easier to approach any change, anything that destabilizes us for a while, with a real intention of staying present and grounded, so that we can deal with any little upheavals that change brings to us. Beautiful. Let's draw the hands together somewhere in the front body and just bow, honor this process that we undertake as sentient beings, sovereign beings who are taking ownership of our lives and responsibility for them. And when you're ready, we'll lift the gaze, and let's lift the arms up overhead. And just a couple times, take the shoulders up and down, and then let the shoulders settle down. And we'll inhale, and as we exhale, we'll breathe through our nose forcefully and draw the hands down. So we'll inhale the arms up, exhale, pull down. And we'll do this a few times. It's called Bhastrika. And then let the hands come down and just feel. And what that Bhastrika does is it helps bring our energy up. And we do that with the sense of focus. We'll focus our energy then on keeping us on the path, this new path we've chosen, fostering new kinds of growth, feeling the increase of movement in our bodies. Still taking care to stay centered. And so literally, physically, let's center our bodies. So let's look at our physical samskaras. Do we have habits of bringing the head forward or the chin up? Do the shoulders come forward? Does your belly spill or your ribs pop? Let's see if we can find the middle. So find the middle. And you can play around with movement, maybe moving forward or back, taking the head forward and back, exploring some movement and just feeling really anchored in your body. And you might just play, just see what your body wants you to do to begin to open up. And we'll all do different things because our bodies are all starting in a different place, but just exploring, what kind of movements would feel good to you today? And then we'll settle back into home base in our center. So let's see if we can place the heart above the middle of the pelvis and the head over the middle of the heart. Let's see if we can't open and soften the shoulders down away from the ears. Good, and with this beautiful erect spine, then we'll turn our torso in one direction, however much it will go. And you could play a couple times turning just to explore that range of motion. And then settle yourselves here into this little gentle twist. And then let's again take the chin forward and then slide the base of the skull up and back. And now we're going to turn the chin opposite the direction the torso is turned. So very gently turn and come back to face the same direction as the middle of your chest. And then turn and come back to your midline. We'll just do that a couple times, and then we'll settle the head where you found it was comfortable to go to today. And just be there for a breath or two. Softening, relaxing into this to whatever extent is possible. And then we'll untwist the head and untwist the body. And then you can again just explore, What kind of movements does your body want to undo the doing of that first shape that we made? Okay, and eventually make your way back to your center. And we'll go the opposite direction. So whatever that was for you, we'll turn the torso in the opposite direction. And you can play with how far is comfortable to go to today. And so even if you can make yourself go, if it's starting to cause the head to collapse or the spine to collapse, come out of this twist a little bit so that you can be here really comfortably. And then once again, we'll slide the base of the skull up and back, and we'll explore the range of movement as we turn our head in the opposite direction several times before settling to hold a twist away from the direction of the torso. Breathing softness and quiet into this shape so that there's no over efforting going. Just holding gently and then untwisting the head and untwisting the body. Beautiful. All right, so we're going to move to Baddha Konasana. So we'll take the soles of our feet together and the knees apart. And this may mean for you that you are really comfortable right here. But if your knees are up a little higher or you're feeling some pull to collapse the spine again, then I would recommend taking a blanket and opening it nice and wide, something like this, and rolling it. I call it a snake roll or a tootsie roll. And you could snug this underneath either really close to the ankles so that the knees are up a little higher, or maybe a little further apart, whatever suits your body today. So this is a supported bound angle pose, Baddha Konasana. All right, let's take the hands just behind us on the floor and use the hands to press down and lift up the torso and feel how the core engages for us to help us support. Notice if it causes a little more sensation of stretch in the inner groin here. All right, so let's draw the shoulder blades together and then lift them up, bring them forward and soften them down, and then just release to neutral. So let's do the same thing. Shoulder blades back, up, forward, and down. Shoulder blades back, up, forward, and down. And now let's hold the shoulder blades back a little bit. Notice if it caused your chin to jet forward. And just be here for a breath or two, or 3 or 4. So we're creating strength through the back body to permit the opening of the front body. Good. And then let's extend the arms out from the shoulders and we'll do a little circle. So we're creating some strength through the shoulders and the arms, which for women as we age tend to really lose some of their strength. So this is just something we're going to do for a little while. Breathing. If you need a little more support, bring the blanket closer, or even take the legs together and apart a couple times if your body needs that. There we go. Keep breathing. And now let's move the circle the opposite direction. So I was going forward to begin with. Now I'm going backwards. There we go. That's it. So maybe your arms are starting to get a little bit tired. Maybe. Let's see if we can just go a couple more rotations and then release. And let's bring the hands behind the base of the skull and let's draw the head back into the hands and release. Let's do that again 2 more times. Head back into the hands and release. And let the hands hands, just relax down for a moment. Let's take the knees together, set aside the blanket if you were using it, just so we don't trip ourselves up on it. And then let's just kind of rotate the knees together and apart a couple of times, just getting some movement in the inner groin and the outer hip. Good. Okay, so we're going to take ourselves right up to our feet today. And I'm going to show a couple of options. So we're going to be doing a low lunge. And some of us like to use blocks like this. For some of us, those blocks are a little too low, so you could, for instance, use the seat of your chair or even the back of the chair. Okay, so these are all variations of the low lunge. So whichever leg you take back first, it doesn't matter. We're going to do both sides. So let's come into that low lunge and let's bring our weight forward on the foot and front foot and then back on the back foot a couple of times. And then see if you can bring your weight equally between the 2 feet and hug the hips together, draw the navel in, and then be just kind of lighter on your fingertips. Good. All right, so now let's bring the hands to whatever support you're using, and let's bring that back knee down towards the floor and back up. Keeping the engagement of the core and the length of the spine, we're just letting the knee come down and back up. One more time, let's hold this down, draw the core in, elongate the spine, and feel that stretch. And then let the knee come down, the other knee come down, and we'll come back into downward facing dog. Now, if you're at your chair and you've been doing your lunge here, you can just walk both feet back, bend the knees, and come into your downward facing dog. All right, so we have a couple of choices here, whether you're using your chair or the floor. And you can play with your down dog a little bit, maybe lifting up and down on your heels, waking the Achilles up and the calves. Drawing in the core once more. You might choose to come forward and back a couple of times, just further warming up the shoulders, although we did a little bit of warm up for them with our arm circles. But this is a slightly different movement to open the arms, shoulder girdles, and then settle into your down dog. And when you're ready, we'll come out of this and back into the lunge, taking the other foot forward. Opposite leg back. Again, making sure the weight is even between the 2 feet and that you're really using your legs and your core to hold you here. And then we'll take the back knee down towards the floor and up. Slowly down towards the floor and up. One more time down towards the floor and up. There we go. Breathing. Excellent. Okay, we're going to come one more time into that downward facing dog, wherever you want to be. Now, if your down dog is feeling really laborious to you today, you might choose just to come into a child's pose or a puppy. Right? And you can do that also at your chair. You could just bend your knees a lot and just rest here. Do what suits your body today. We know this about our practice. It's always our own practice, and we're finding our own best practice for ourselves today. Beautiful. And when you're ready, We'll come on out of this. Make our way into the middle of the mat. Facing the short end, and we'll just bend the knees quite a lot and come into a bent leg forward fold. So this isn't a lot on the hamstrings yet. We're just gonna maybe rest forearms on the knees or the thighs. Or if you like to use blocks, you could rest your hands on the blocks. So just an easy bent leg forward fold first. And then press off the feet, spring up through the legs and come all the way up, and we'll reach to the sky and draw the hands down to the heart. All right, so what I'd like you to think about is, we do forward folds fairly often. How do you normally come into a forward fold? Do you always go to the exact same place? Be playful and explore. It's like you're turning over the soil to see what you find in there. Maybe you always come with straight legs and you fold forward and you always do it the same way. I'm going to encourage you to just play with your forward fold. Maybe you come in with very bent legs just to see what that feels like. Maybe you stay in extension, maybe you round your spine. So what do you normally do? And could you do it differently? And then feel into the shape that your weight, that your hips align over your heels. And you can play with bending and unbending the legs to any degree that suits you today. Exploring that, not assuming you know. And then pushing off the floor, coming up halfway, and then raising all the way back up and out into Tadasana. Good. All right, so we're going to play a little bit more. Let's sweep the arms out in front of us and let them fall down. And when they meet the thighs, press up with the heart and fold forward with bent or straight legs, your choice. And let's stay extended for a moment and feel the shoulder blades drawing onto the back again. And then you can stay right here, or you could fold forward a little further, see what suits you today. You could keep the knees bent or let them straighten any amount. And then we'll come on up. Ooh. Okay, so now you've played with this a couple of ways. Let's come into it the way you decide, I like this. I'm gonna do it this way again. So however you choose to come into your forward fold. Maintaining your focus. Building the discipline of maintaining a focus. That's hard. Life pulls us in so many directions. Can we maintain our focus on what it is we're committed to for ourselves? All right, pressing through the feet, lifting to the sky, and coming out. Ooh, beautiful. Okay, so let's now face the front of the mat for a moment. And I think I want to do, yeah, I'm going to change things up. I'm going to do one more standing pose this direction. I'm going to change my mind on something.
So you might choose to have your blocks ahead of you, or you might use the chair or the wall. So I'll show this to you. It's called Parsvottanasana. And what we'll do is bring 1 foot forward and 1 foot back. And these scissor legs are a good balance pose. It's a good practice for balance. So I'll just show this to you first. My thighs are rolling in, the hips are facing to the short edge of the mat. Tendency, if we're tight here, which most of us are because we sit in our culture, is to spill the pelvis forward. So let's consciously spill the pelvis forward and then draw the hip points up and draw the navel in and lift the heart up. So we feel that stability. I'll walk you through that again, and then we'll fold forward. And so your fold forward might be something like right here, and that might be where you stop today. You might continue to fold forward, in which case being close to a wall or a chair can be awfully nice. Or if you continue folding forward, you could use your blocks. Okay, and then we'll come into a forward fold. So just like we did in our forward fold, we came first through to extension, which is what my spine is doing now. And then we round just the upper part. The low part of our spine stays long. And then we'll come out and press up. So there it is. That's our pose today. So let's find our scissor leg first, whichever leg you decide to go forward. Think of the hips drawing to the center line. Let's let the belly turn forward for a moment towards the front thigh. And then lift the hip points away from down towards the floor, but up towards the front of the room. And then belly in and lift the sternum and take the shoulder blades on the back. So those are all actions we've used now. And we're going to employ them as we forward fold. So I want you to lift up the toes of that front foot and feel the ball of the foot really firming to the earth. And then let the toes come down, but keep that firming and begin to fold forward. And so maybe just start 2 or 3 inches and continue to feel the length of your spine and the support of the shoulder blades on the back. And then if you care to, you could proceed a little bit further and just see how that feels. And notice if your leg likes to hyperextend, in which case I want you to think about pushing the big toe mound into the floor a little more and hugging the quadricep to the bone. So we'll proceed forward any amount that suits your body today, feeling your length. And then keep the navel drawn in, but you could round your upper spine. So this is a forward fold. Uttita Parsvottanasana, intense forward stretch. And we're breathing. And on your next inhalation, we'll extend the spine and then push down through that front foot and lift up. Excellent. Okay, we're going to step our feet together. And go ahead and walk around a little bit. That back leg probably got a good stretch. You might be needing to stretch that out a little bit. And now if you can remember, we're going to take the opposite foot forward and the other foot back. And again, feel how this is a balance issue here. We're unstable. We're not in a very stable place. So let's make ourselves more stable by rolling the hips inward, drawing the navel in and lifting the front of the hip points up, letting the heart stack up over the hips and feeling the shoulder blades on the back. So this is nice just to stay right here and feel how solid you've made your foundation. So that's staying centered, focused. And when you're ready, let's fold forward over the hip crease and maybe just start a couple of inches and make sure you've maintained your integrity. And if that still feels good, perhaps you explore a little deeper into the shape. Maybe the hands come to the wall or a chair. Maybe they just stay on your hips, whatever suits you best. Good, so feeling your integrity, adding the forward fold if you like. Inhale to extension, press through the foot and up we come. All right, woo, I did a little bobbling there. Anybody else? Good. All righty, so now we'll face the long side of our mat coming into the middle here. And let's just lift up and down on our toes a couple of times and then bend the knees a couple of times. Yeah, just kind of rolling through the feet, maybe rolling out your ankles if you need to. Feeling and undoing the effects of the previous stretches that we were doing in our ankles and calves. All right, so think about how you get into the wide leg stance. We all have a way that we typically do it. I know for me, I almost always step this foot out first. Anyone else, can you identify the way you normally do it? Just think of how your body wants to do that. Yeah, okay, so now let's do it the opposite way. So inhale, soften the knees and step the feet apart. Good, and just for a moment, I'm gonna ask you to bring your hands to your belly here, your dantian. This is the source of our power from our chakra. And we'll turn one leg out 90 degrees, doesn't matter which. But notice how your hands, rather than facing straight forward, are now turned a little bit. Does anyone else notice that? That's okay. Let's inhale, exhale, bend the turned out knee. And now let's turn the waistline, rather than in the direction of the knee, straight ahead again. Notice if your back foot peeled away from the floor. Okay, so this is the weeds. This is our samskara. These are the things that we tend to do, and let's pay attention to those so that we can right our ship. There it is. And then sweep the hands out. So this is our Virabhadrasana 2, our warrior 2, right? Okay, so let's just play with the limits of this. Maybe you come in deeper, maybe you come out a little bit. Find your right balance. And then we'll take the hands together at the heart. Inhale, exhale, and bring the arms back wide. Inhale and exhale. We're opening up the lung circuits here, the lung pathways through the body. All right, good. And then with the torso facing straight ahead, let's turn the palms down and turn the head to look over in the direction of the bent leg. So now we're in a full Virabhadrasana 2, warrior 2 pose. So feel your strength and power. And then come out, and we'll turn both feet forward for just a moment and give ourselves a little break here. What do your shoulders need? Do you need to move your shoulders, your head or neck, up and down? So feeling into your body, what does your body need right now? So it needs to move or stretch in any particular way. Play around. Just exploring what's happening in there. All right, and when you're ready, we'll turn the opposite leg out. Again, notice how the navel has moved and if it's spilled forward, which can happen, especially if we're a little tighter in the hamstring, or in the hip flexor. So let's turn the navel away from this knee and then bend that leg. There we go. So this is kind of a cool thing to notice. Some of us, when we bend the leg, think we need to also reach over the knee. But when you have your hands right above your pelvis, you can feel if you're moving. Okay, so let's keep the torso right above the middle of the pelvis as we bend the knee, and the pelvis just goes along and the torso just goes along for the ride. There we go, and then sweep the arms out. And this time, let's turn the palms up and reach up and down. And let's do that about 5 times total with your breath. Beautiful. And then we'll turn the palms down and let's turn the head in the direction of the hand that's over the bent knee. Let's hold this for a few breaths. And straighten the leg, turn the feet together. Okay, which foot usually do you draw in first? Let's come in with the opposite foot and stand for a moment in Tadasana and just feel the effects of what you've done so far. So let that just settle in. We talk about the brain mapping that happens. And it happens more effectively when we give ourselves some moments of pause so that the brain can just sort and file and lay down the pathways. Good. When you're ready, we'll let the eyes open. We're going to come into wide leg stance again. So you can come in the same way or a different way. Go. And we're going to turn, instead of the right leg, which we frequently start with, let's turn with the left leg. All right. And we're going to come into triangle pose, Trikonasana. So in this pose, rather than bending the knee that's turned out, we're going to find our hip crease and tilt the pelvis in a straight line over the hip crease. So let's just explore that a little bit. Just introducing this movement to the nervous system. Exploring how deeply we can go comfortably. And then let's tip the teapot in the direction of the turned out leg. And just feel the length of your spine. Make sure that the tailbone isn't popping back behind you, but that it's drawing in towards that back heel. Good. And just feel the extension of the spine. And now we'll do a little twist. So let's turn the navel away from the floor. There it is. And you can keep your hand on the hip or extend it above your shoulder. See what feels better to you today. And then push through the foot and lift up through the hand, and we'll turn both feet parallel. Good. Feel free to bend, shimmy the hips, roll out the shoulders. What does your body need you to do? You can move and wiggle in any ways that feel comfortable to you. Yeah. All right. And when you're ready, take your own time. We're all going to meet back the other direction. All right, and so again, find the hip crease and let's just explore. And it might be different on this side. Maybe you go deeper or less deep. So just tip the teapot over and explore the range of motion that suits you on this side today. Knowing that when we take our torso over a straight leg, our tendency is to hyperextend the knee back. So the way we counter that is to push through the foot and draw this quadricep muscle group to the thigh bone, just to firm and support that knee, okay? So with that as our foundation, we'll tip the teapot over the leg. And then we'll turn the navel away from the floor. And either let the hand rest on the hip or up above the shoulder. Keep drawing that kneecap up towards your pelvis of that extended, the leg you're extending over. And press and lift out. Let's turn the feet parallel. And you can just kind of inch your toes and heels a little closer, bend the knees and step together. Good. All right, so I'm going to encourage a couple of things. One is to take the legs apart a little bit and to soften the knees. And then we'll slide the hands down the thighs. And I'll do this from the side just so you can see it. We're going to do a little standing cat-cow. So in this, we inhale, take the shoulders down and extend the heart through the gateway of the arms. And then exhale and round. So with your breath, inhaling and extending, exhaling and rounding. All right, and then come to a neutral place. Shoulders down, belly in. Let's slide the hip one direction and hold that for a couple of breaths. And then the other direction, hold that for a couple of breaths. And then come back to center and let's walk the feet a little bit closer together and bend the knees and just fold forward and rest your forearms on your thighs. And you can keep your head extended or just let the upper back round, see which feels better to you. Going inward for a moment, pausing. Making sure to prioritize staying centered, staying rounded. And the next time you inhale, extend the spine. And then walk your hands to your thighs and then push off the feet and slowly, slowly make your way all the way back up. Hands to the heart. Tadasana. All right, good job. So there's a lot of movement going through our body. We're going to take a moment to play with King Dancer. So we'll do this either with a chair to hold on to or at the wall. And this is one of those poses where we're stretching, our quadriceps muscles and opening our chest. And then seeing how that goes, if you care to add balance to this, you can let go of the wall. So it looks like this. I'm going to take my weight under the foot that's closer to the wall, and I'll bend the opposite knee. Now the tendency, and this is a good way for me to show you, is for the knee to flop out to the side or come forward, or for us to collapse the waistline. You see how instead of being straight up, I'm doing this to get to my foot. So if that is happening for us, we might want to try a strap that allows us to stay upright and to still take the leg. Let's see, get away from that dark background there. There, so it keeps the leg parallel with the other leg. Okay, so here we are, and you'll notice that I'm not collapsing the chest. I've got the shoulder blade drawing onto my back, belly drawing in. And you might be holding onto the wall, or you might let go and just work on your balance here. But let's draw the belly in and lift the heart. And that's going to intensify the stretch for the quadricep. All right, so that's where we're going. You might already be there. If not, will you join me and come on in? There you go. And so what I like to do is to get into the shape, refine it, draw in the core, lift the heart, look straight ahead. And then if I feel fairly solid, maybe I'll try to let go of the wall. And you might sway a little bit, that's okay, that's what happens in our bodies as it adjusts and makes little micro movements to keep the body in balance. All right, and release. Okay, let's just shimmy the hips side to side, maybe take them in a little circle. Opening up those hips that have been working. And then we're gonna do the other side. I'm gonna move over here just so I'm not facing away from you. So we'll stand on the leg that's closer to the wall. We'll bend the other one, maybe using your strap so that you can keep the waistline long, taking the shoulder blade of the side of the bent knee onto the back. There we go. Drawing the navel back towards the spine and lifting the heart up. Oh, and I just found my tighter side. I'm really feeling this side having to work a little more to get a stretch. And maybe adding, letting go of the wall. Maybe your arm comes forward. Maybe it comes up overhead. And releasing. Good. Okay, here we go. So we did quite a lot to open up our hip flexors today. We're going to do one more thing on our backs, but also then part of opening this hip flexor area is to strengthen the gluteal area right back here. And so we'll join together on our backs. And would you have a block within reach, please? Because we'll use that eventually here. All right, so we're going to do bridge pose. So we'll come onto the back, make our way down. And whenever I get on my back, I like to take my shoulders up towards my ears and then down away. And then I feel a fuller connection with the back of my shoulder on the floor. I like to roll my knees side to side for a moment. And just imagine that I'm widening my hips onto the floor. There we go. And then for this variation, we're going to first start with bent elbows and lift up the toes from the floor. All right, so now inhale, fill out the torso, press down through the floor. Exhale, let's draw the navel back towards the spine and lift the hips up off the floor. So this is a variation of our bridge pose. We're going to hold this for a few breaths. Notice the tendency, the samskara, the groove that would have us let go of the belly. All right, but let's foster something new, some new strength that comes when we draw that belly back towards the spine and it engages different muscles. And lower down. Good. All right, now we're going to do a variation where we inhale, exhale, draw the navel in and lift up. Inhale and come down. Exhale, navel and lift. Inhale, back down. So with that, that's our cycle at your own pace. Let's do that a few more times. Next time you're up, stay up, but let's take a block and put it underneath the sacrum and then come down on the sacrum. And you can rest the arms on the floor, and we're just gonna rest here a moment, let the back relax. Let your face and chest just soften. This feels good to you, you can stay right here. If you love having your legs up above your hips in that Upavista Prasarita Padasana, you're welcome to bring one or both legs up, but not necessary. All of these quieten the nervous system, all these variations. When you're ready, slowly coming out of whatever variation of this supported bridge you did, coming all the way back down to the floor. There we go. Let's just for a moment hug the knees into the chest. Good. And will you reach for your strap? And then we'll take the left foot on the floor and we'll take the strap and wrap it around the ball of the right foot. And then we'll inhale and exhale and extend the right leg. And just check in and make sure that the shoulders haven't reached up off the floor. Can they soften to the floor, even if it means you make your hands come down the strap a little bit. Inhale and exhale, and we'll just hold this shape for a little while. Breathing gently and comfortably. So this process we've undertaken today is to bring a little awareness to our habitual ways of doing things. Determine whether that's still suiting us, and opening to the promise of different ways of doing things, maybe new possibilities of growth. And we are building that muscle of creating awareness and staying dedicated to keeping the light on. All right, let's take the strap, both ends of the strap into the right hand and let the left hand come down to the floor. And I like to bring it out to the side somewhat. All right, and then drawing the core, press down through the left thigh. Let's just explore taking that right leg out to the side, not going where you always go necessarily, but just seeing, playing with extending out to the right and seeing how far is it comfortable to go today. Do I start to lift up the left side of my pelvis? Maybe I habitually push myself to go someplace that isn't right for my body. I know a lot of us like to take a blanket and scoot it right into the outside of the hip. So you might play with that and just see if that feels more stable as you bring that right leg out to the right. There we go. So exploring. Sometimes our samskara is to push ourselves harder than we should. And what would be more stable and have more integrity is to actually take some support, like I firmed that blanket onto the outside of my hip, and boy, does that feel solid and nice. So my tendency maybe is to push myself just a little harder, when actually the better groove for me would be to listen more carefully to my body and stop ahead of that point. So we all know, and we're all learning our own tendencies. Maybe your tendency is, oh, not quite to push yourself hard enough and to immediately come out of a pose, right? And maybe you'll just ask yourself to breathe through a couple more breaths of it. All right, inhaling the leg up. Let's take the strap into the left hand. We'll internally rotate that right leg, reach up through the heel, and then maybe cross the leg over a little bit. And just explore this movement. Stopping where you feel a pretty good amount of sensation in the outside of the legs or the hip. And when you're ready, lifting that right side of your pelvis up off the floor and allowing your body to come more fully into the twist. And you can pull up on the strap so that you're reversing the effects of gravity. When you bring the leg over, gravity is going to want to pull the leg to the ground. But maybe you open that up a little bit higher. So explore that right place for you to work here on this side today. Perhaps taking a moment to breathe into the chest that is also opening here. All right, let's bend that top leg, roll on to the back. We'll take the strap off the right foot and let the right foot come to the floor. And then let's bend the left knee and take that foot on the floor. And just for a moment, roll the hips, roll the knees side to side. And I'm going to take the moment to bring my blanket to the other side because I may choose to use it on this side. We don't know. We're just going to explore that. All right, so a little side to side, releasing the back, releasing the hips. And when you're ready, we'll take the left leg in, lasso just below the ball of the left foot. Inhale, exhale, and extend that leg upward. Inhale and exhale, extend the right leg along the floor. There we go. Finding the place where you're able to relax the shoulders down into the shoulder, arms down into the shoulder girdle. Face is soft. Jaw is soft. Breath unforced, nice and smooth, nice and even. Shall we take both ends of the strap in the left hand and then right hand to the floor, firm the tummy and bring the left leg out to the side and explore. Maybe come in and out a couple of times, exploring what's my range of motion on this side. Am I able to keep my pelvis really firmed to the floor? So on this side, it's a little easier for me than the other side. I don't need the blanket here. But on the other side, it really helped my stability to tuck the blanket in right on the outside of the hip. So go ahead and explore for yourself what feels most stable and which will allow you to grow and open and lengthen a little more. So the thing is, when we're gripping and constrained, which a lot of our samskaras keep us in a place of grip, it becomes a box. What was a habit that you set up for yourself, maybe for what you thought was going to be good, becomes like a rigid box for you. So letting the samskaras soften so that you can create a new structure for yourself that is more supportive for your forward progress. When you're ready, inhaling the leg up, we'll switch the strap to the right hand. And keeping the pelvis on the floor first, we'll begin to cross the leg over. And again, you're welcome to come in and out of it. Sometimes that feels good and it just signals to your nervous system, this is where I'm going, get ready. And then you can just hold the place that you've determined, yeah, this is the place to stay for a little bit. And then you can let the left side of the pelvis lift off the ground and come into the twist as deeply as it suits you today, keeping the left shoulder nice and anchored on the floor. Breathing through your chest. And when you're ready, bending that top knee, rolling onto the back. There we go, we'll come out. And again, you could take your knees into the chest for a moment and see what your body wants you to do. I love rolling side to side. Some of us like to take the knees in a little gentle circle. Maybe you like to take the knees together and apart a couple of times. So see what your body's asking for. And then when you're ready, I'll invite you to come into your Shavasana, so your final resting pose, that place that gives your body that sense of, I can let go now. That is just as important as we talked about earlier, to map everything you've done for your body so far so that your brain can rewire and put in new roadways to keep track of how your body moves, and so that you can quiet the nervous system. So finding that place that's super comfortable for your body. Maybe you lie on your side, maybe you lay on your back with your arms and legs apart. A lot of us love legs up the wall. So taking your time, settling yourself there. And we'll settle, letting the body anchor onto the earth, settling yourself right into your physical body. And as you let go physically, noticing how the mind can also quiet, enjoying this opportunity just to be. Taking just a moment to let your imagination take over as you imagine what it would feel like when you thought at the beginning of class about the thing that kept holding you up. What if that was gone? What would your life look like if you said yes? Yes to the thing that was a hindrance to you. So yes to trusting, yes to risking, sharing. What if you said yes to letting your deepest, most inner self shine? What would that look and feel like? Allowing your body to relax into that possibility and promise. Letting go of the bracing, the rigidity, the old samskaras, and making way for new opportunities. Let's breathe into that and then take that sensation with you as you slowly make your way back to seated. Let's bring the hands somewhere to the front body and just celebrate our own light that's right there within us. Bowing to that light within ourselves. Also honoring that light in all others and pledging to see it, to help it to grow wherever you find it. Namaste. Thank you so much.